Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the online class of English literature. Here I am your teacher Mr. Snaula and I am going to start lesson number 2 of unit 4 with the topic Aunty Misery. You will find the main text of the lesson from page 178 to 180. Our unit 4's lessons are dealing with the genre of myth and folktale. During our today's lesson, the students will learn about characterization, plot and setting of the story. My dear students, whenever you read any literary piece, you must be clear about the beginning, the climax, and end or conclusion of the story. As well as there should be a very good clarity about the characters, about the persons, their gender, their age, their place, their setting, background, their languages, and the relation with each other. So all these events should be linked with each other in a very good comprehensive way so that the concept will be clear to you. Let us start our lesson whose topic is Aunty Misery on page 178. Aunty, we use this word to describe or to address a woman who doesn't belong to our family, who is a non-relative woman. Aunty, we use a word to address a woman who doesn't belong to our family just as a token of respect or regard. Misery, an extreme state of unhappiness or pain. This is a story about an old, very old woman who lived alone in her little hut with no other company than a beautiful pear tree that grew at her door. She spent all her time taking care of her pear tree, but the neighborhood children drove the old woman crazy by stealing her fruit. They would climb her tree, shake its delicate limbs, and run away with armloads of golden pears, yelling insults and Aunty Misery as they called her. Hopefully many things will be clear to you. I am just going to explain or rephrase the story. This woman was living alone, means you will not find any other character with the title of husband or brother, sister, son or daughter associated with the old woman. She is alone, only one. Okay, that's okay. She is living in a small hut or house, you can say, or cabin. Fine. What is the other most important thing? Yes, one pear tree, the tree that was growing the fruit of pear. So that pear tree was very much liked by the neighborhood children. Every time the children from the neighborhood areas were coming and stealing the fruit and bringing some trouble to Aunty Misery. One day a pilgrim stopped at the old woman's hut and asked her permission to spend the night under her roof. Aunty Misery saw that he had an honest face and asked the traveler come in. She fed him and made a bed for him in front of her hut. In the morning while he was getting ready to leave, the stranger told her that he would show his gratitude for her hospitality by granting her one wish. Now you can see here this is an illustration. This is the traveler. This is the traveler who came to the house of Aunty Misery to stay for one night. Aunty Misery found this person very honest and sincere. She let the person come in her house. She fed him. She gave him a bed, comfort, everything for hospitality. Now, before he was going back to his destiny, the traveler asked Aunty Misery if she wanted anything. Aunty Misery said that she had one wish she wanted to be granted. Let's see what was that wish or desire. Page 178. There is only one thing that I desire, said Aunty Misery. Ask, and it shall be yours, replied the stranger, who was a sorcerer in disguise. I wish that anyone who climbs up my pear tree shouldn't be able to come back until I permit it. Your wish is granted, said the stranger, touching the pear tree as he left Aunty Misery's house. When the children came back to taunt the old woman and to steal her fruit, she stood at her windows watching them. Several of them climbed up the trunk of the pear tree and immediately got stuck to it as if with glue. She let them cry and beg her for a long time before she gave the pear tree permission to let them go, on the condition that They never again steal her fruit or bother her. Now this picture will clear the idea or the so far development of the story. This is the cabin of Auntie Misery. Just outside the cabin or hut you will find a pear tree. The fruits of this tree are always getting the attention of these naughty children. These neighborhood children are always coming to steal the fruit, means they are getting fruit without permission of Auntie Misery. Since this tree has got a magical effect and children were unaware of that thing, as usual they climbed up the tree but were unable to come down because of that magical effect. They had no power, they had no energy to separate themselves from the tree. They got stuck as if with glue. They were yelling and shouting and asking for any relief. Now Auntie Misery did something. She let the children go back only on one condition, that they will not come back again. Time passed, many years later, and both Auntie Misery and her tree grew bent and gnarled with age. One day another traveler stopped at her door. This one looked suffocated and exhausted, so the old woman asked him what he wanted in her village. He answered in her he answered her in a voice that was dry and rough, as if he had swallowed a desert. I am Death, and I have come back to take you with me. Now here you can see a picture that shows a conversation between Auntie Misery and Death. This traveler, who is actually a Death, has approached the house of Auntie Misery. This Death wanted to stay in the house of Auntie Misery for the purpose of taking the life of Auntie Misery. Thinking fast, Auntie Misery said, "All right, but before I go, I would like to pluck some pears from my beloved pear tree to remember how much pleasure it brought me in this life. But I am a very old woman. I can't climb to the tallest branches where the best fruit is. Will you be so kind so as to do it for me?" With a heavy sigh like wind through a catacomb, Death climbed the pear tree. Immediately he became stuck to it as if with glue. And no matter how much he cursed and threatened, Auntie Misery would not allow the tree to let Death go. Now you know what trick this old woman, means Auntie Misery, has done to Death. Like children, if Death is also separated from the tree, definitely this Death will take the life of Auntie Misery. In other words, Auntie Misery will die. And Auntie Misery didn't want to die. She wanted to stay alive as long as possible. Now this is a character of Death who is stuck to the branches of pear tree. And down you will see Auntie Misery. She is satisfied. Now she thinks that Death cannot bring any kind of trouble or problem to her. On page 180. Many years passed and there were no deaths in the world. The people who made their living from death began to protest loudly. The doctors claimed no one bothered to come in for checkups or treatments anymore because they didn't fear dying. The druggist business suffered too because medicines are bought to prevent or put off dying. Priests and undertakers were unhappy also for similar reasons. There were also many old folk tired of life who wanted to pass on to the next world to rest from the miseries of this one. Now here all these people who are doctors, priests, religious person, undertakers, pharmacists, the people who are selling medicines, the manufacturer of the drugs, they are unhappy. Why? Because of death. Now the death is stuck to the tree. Death cannot go from one person to another to kill him or her. So when people will not die, so the business of these people will definitely go down. Now these people are not happy with the work of Auntie Misery. Latia Miseria, that is actually the real name of Auntie Misery, that is written in some other language. was blamed by these people for their troubles. Of course, not wishing to be unfair, the old woman made a deal with her prisoner, Death. If he promised not ever to come for her again, she would give him his freedom. He agreed, and that is why there are two things you can always count on running into this world: misery and death. That's the end of the story. I hope you would have enjoyed the story. Your homework is to read the lesson twice. My dear students, please read the folk tale with the topic Aunty Misery 2 times. Also use dictionary to get a clear meaning of the difficult words. See you next time and have a safe time. Thank you very much.